Welcome to this episode of Boris TV. In this episode I'll be showing you the 9 new transitions that you'll find in Final Effects Complete version 7. The transitions are Difference Blend Wipe, Glow Dissolve, Spiral Blur Dissolve, Threshold Dissolve, Threshold RGB Dissolve, Toner Dissolve, Turbulent Dissolve, Vector Blur Dissolve, Water Waves Dissolve. The first transition I'd like to show you is the Difference Wipe. If we just play it through, in its standard state it looks nothing much more than a standard dissolve. But if I bring up the effects editor and move the mix back slope from 0 to 100, either using the slider here or more obviously the on-screen tools, step through it again, you will see that we get a harder, more posterized look. What I'm looking for is something a little bit softer, so I'm going to take this down to around 50. There, and that's much more the wipe look that I'm after. Currently the blend mode is set to RGB combined, which gives a uniform blend between the outgoing and incoming images. But if I set it to RGB independent, so it's the separation of the channels when the outgoing clip is blended with the incoming clip. Let's have a quick look at that. There we are, a much more sort of pronounced effect. And I suppose it all depends on what you're looking for in the form of a transition. But I'd probably just go with the RGB combined myself. The next transition we're going to take a look at is the Glow Dissolve. So let's just play that through. So the glow is being generated from the colours of the outgoing image, and we can actually adjust those. If I bring up the effects editor, if I adjust the glow threshold, we can adjust the amount that's actually being passed through to the glow effect. Let's drop that back to around 60 where it was before. The dissolve apply mode actually controls the way in which the outgoing and incoming images are composited together during the dissolve. So let's choose something like the difference and preview that. Again, a much marked different effect. Let's put that to multiply. Again, a whole host of different ways in which you can make your dissolve appear the way you want it. Let's set the dissolve mode back to normal. If we go to the filters extras here, scroll down, we can choose the glow from the original colours, which is the default mode, or we can choose 2 colours for it to actually run through. So if I scroll down, going from glow colours A and B, let's choose colour A. Sort of a green. Choose colour B. Much more of a purple. And now the glow is actually being run between those 2 colours as the dissolve goes through. Looking at the spiral blur dissolve, this happens to be one of my favourite transitions just because of the animation capabilities and also the way in which it comes together. We'll take a look inside the effects editor. We have zoom and spin amount, which are animated versions of the spiral blur effect filter in Final Effects. We also have the option here to animate between 2 points, point A and point B, or just to center the effect around 1 point. If I was to step through, you'll see that that's just now centering on that point there. If I bring the animation editor back and choose A to B, I have user definable points using the on-screen controls to say where the dissolve and spiral is going to take place. We also have a filters extras section, and in here I can reverse the spin on the reveal side of the effect. So we start spinning out one way and the image comes returning to us spinning the other way. Here's the threshold dissolve. I'll just play that for you. It's pretty easy to change the threshold level and softness. If I park in the middle, we can adjust the threshold of the dissolve and also the softness to vary the effect. But also in the filters extras down here, we can actually choose which threshold we wish to do the dissolve on. So we can choose any of the red, green or blue. The default is luminance. But also we can actually invert the dissolve as well, giving somewhat of an interesting effect to the dissolve. The RGB threshold dissolve takes the red, green and blue channels and works with their thresholds. It's pretty simple. If I bring up the effect editor, I can adjust the thresholds of each individual channel. If I park in the middle, obviously. I can adjust the individual channels to what their thresholds should be. Or, if I wish to, I can lock the channels and have all their thresholds being operated on by one slider. If I unlock them and go down to the filters extras, I can actually invert channels selectively or completely. So let's just invert the red channel and step through that. Quite an interesting effect, I think you'll agree. Moving on to the toner dissolve. It's a dissolve where we're going through two tones. If I was to bring up the effects editor, we can actually choose a mid-tone to create a tritone. Let's change that colour to like a blue. Park in the middle of the effect. And there we now have a sort of a tritone effect on our dissolve. Again, this colour is totally user definable. Some interesting effects can be generated by using the filters extras. You can adjust the gamma, and obviously the filter apply mode. I'm going to try scale multiply and see what effect that gives me now. I think I like that, and I think I'll keep it. The turbulent dissolve does pretty much what it says on the tin. Here we go. It's producing a level of turbulence as we go through the dissolve. If I open up the effects editor, change the apply mode to screen, dissolve apply mode. You can see the turbulence being affected through the dissolve. Also, if I change it from a straight dissolve to filter image on source and reveal, two new options come up, and we can reverse the direction of the turbulence on the reveal. So if I scrub through on that, we have turbulence going in both directions. So this is the vector blur dissolve. Just run it through for you. I'm using a preset called ringing, which gives a ringing on the headlamps and distortion to the pavement there on the dissolve, and ringing on the incoming image as well. So if I bring up the effects editor and change the apply mode to anything else other than normal, let's say screen, you'll see that the effect is more pronounced, and you can see the ringing more and more on the headlamps and the distortion more and more on the pavement. Also, I meant to mention all the transitions have presets with them. Let's try soft and big on this one. There we are, that's quite a pronounced effect. Speckles. Subtle swirl. Okay, all the effects and transitions inside Final Effects Complete version 7 have presets, and here I'm just playing with these ones just to show you what's possible. The water waves dissolve is pretty self-explanatory. Here we go. It gives a ripple through the dissolve, as though you're looking through water. But what is interesting is how that ripple is generated. If I bring up the effects editor, scroll down, and switch view texture on X and Y combined, now we can see what the texture is that's causing the distortion. And I can adjust parameters accordingly. But what you must remember is to switch this off before you render, otherwise you'll end up with it on your resulting material. So if I haven't switched it off, there they are, there are the waves rippling away. I must go back to my effects editor, switch it off, and there's the effect running across the dissolve. Obviously, to get more information on Final Effects Complete version 7, go to the Boris website at www.boriseffects.com, where you can also go and download a 14-day free trial.